Greetings gamers, welcome back then everybody to our second season on the Italian job with FC Venezia. Obviously going to move towards Serie B football, and to kick things off we're going to obviously pick up pretty soon after we left off and kind of go through the off season, see what interesting things happen, maybe do a bit of transfer stuff, and then hopefully get into the season itself. The first thing I want to show you guys, if we quickly swap over and have a look, it's the Chievo offered us a job interview. I don't always get loads of job interviews offers in my sort of series. They always like to know that I'm with a one-club man. But yeah, Serie B, 15 for Chievo. We actually beat them in the cup, so I can kind of see why they came to us. They saw the quality I had.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
At that time, just out of interest, I want to see how Serie B actually finished. I like how it's a play out, but as well. Do you know Brescia, Frosinone going up? Empoli, definitely heard of them. Lecce, heard of them as well. They finished 15. Zebra under 23s got relegated. Or Juve, Pisa, and there's a few names in there I do recognise. I think it's going to be a tough test next year. Oh, this year actually, I should say now. It's kind of ticking over. But I still feel like we've got a decent enough squad to sort of cope us. And if we quickly have a look at the tactic, what I want to show you is I always tend to like plan the kind of players that I envisage still being in the squad and who I need to move on and what areas I need to focus on. So I'll quickly just go through, put the ones in, because I started it as you can see there. I'll quickly finish it now and I'll show you who I kind of envisage being still in the squad. So here we have just a rough, because it's all subject to change, but as a rough, if I was to sort of pick it now, where I would definitely like to strengthen and who I kind of definitely envisage being in the squad, this is kind of it. So the areas I'm mostly looking at right now to strengthen are some better midfield options to go along with Fiordolino and F-Can. I kind of feel like Mala just hasn't got enough, I don't think. He's still a young player, he's still a decent player, but I just, he did have more potential, which has disappeared. He's worth a decent amount of money, and I kind of feel like he's maybe one that we use a decent amount this coming season, but then we sell on in the next year. Probably have to give him a new deal to achieve that. But Lazzarini as well, a one that might become our goalkeeper if we don't find another option, although I do have a young regen in on a trial that we might be signing. I'll show you that if it does occur, obviously. But goalkeeper, a better centre-back, some better midfielders, and another striker. I think Candelone was, towards the end of last season, just better, I think, than Longo. But it's a real toss-up, I think, between Longo and Candelone. I think I'll keep hold of both of them, with Monticello as the other kind of backup. Because obviously I want 4 strikers. I need about 8 midfielders, 2 for that role, and about 6 that can cover these roles. And obviously I need 4 centre-backs, 4 wing-backs, 2 goalkeepers, and so on. So I like to have 2 in every position. So I think there's definitely some strengthening that needs doing. I would like to keep Lolo. His contract is expiring. I keep offering him more, and he just wants a little bit too much for me at the minute. Same with Lazzarini. But I would like to try and get them tied down before they expire. We do have a little bit of time left and keep hold of them. I think Modolo, he's getting on a bit. He has had a bad injury, but I think he's a decent backup player, backup defender for this league. And then we kind of just let him retire or leave or whatever at the end of the season. That's kind of my thinking, if we can get someone better in then. I would like them to be our own player rather than loans. I would like to try and phase out needing that many loans, because again, I think that's quite an easy thing to do, is to get loans from bigger clubs that you just kind of walk the league. And I'd rather maybe have our own players that we develop and we get some money for. So that's kind of how things are looking. Let's progress on, see what happens then, try and achieve some of these signings. So one player that is signing for us right now is Designees Bunich. He's come from Borussia Dortmund. He is a defensive midfielder, but obviously can play centre mid as well as a sort of deep line playmaker, advanced playmaker. He can cover the Mazzala role as well. So I think he is a good acquisition for us. 23 years of age, and obviously has got 3.5 star with 4.5 star potential. I think it's a really solid young player from Borussia Dortmund on a free. He wants $4,000 a week with some other clauses and things like that. Minimum fee release, he locked it in at 2.2, which I don't think is huge. So that could be a bit of an issue if it gets activated quite quickly. But I think it's a decent little deal to bring it on a free. And another player coming in the door then is the player I just mentioned, Nicola Katich. He's a Croatian player who is a goalkeeper, and he looks pretty darn decent, to be honest. Now, this guy, I did my kind of manual scouting. He didn't come through on the ones where I do all the regens because he probably was one that we couldn't afford, or maybe he just didn't look that good at the time or whatever. But I went through and spent about 40 minutes or so going through all the youth teams of the international sides, spotted quite a few players that I brought in on trial. He was one of them. A lot of them were actually rejected because they're too good to go on trial, or the clubs don't want them to. But this guy did, saw him, thought, hell yeah, I'll have a bit of that. 5-star potential, 2-star current ability, which puts him kind of along with Alberto Pomni, which, if you compare the two, the Pomni is definitely a better sort of goalkeeper, more well-rounded, should we say. But Katich is definitely young, with lots of potential, and I think he'll make a decent-ish deputy, and maybe a lower move if we get like another backup goalkeeper or something. But at the very least, a young, kind of up-and-coming goalkeeper in for not very much money, 80k up front, and with some clauses. Let's sign him up. Job done. Another piece of interesting regen business is Martin Magdic. Exact same as kind of the before one. Went through, he was another one in the Croatian side who looked really promising. 16 finishing already at 16 years old with 14 first touch. You know, he's got reasonable sort of physical, pretty good physicals, maybe reasonable mental, should we say. 2-star again current ability, 5-star potential. So I think he's decent and kind of enough to be thereabouts in the squad, or again, at the very least, maybe a bit of a loan spell out. But I think he could be a nice quality acquisition. We are paying a little bit more for this guy, £250,000 we are having to pay with some additional clauses, but I do think, so it could rise to 700. I do think he's a really good, solid player. And the fact of the matter is, we are selling some players, which you'll probably see soon coming up. Some of the wingers and whatnot. So that should hopefully then give us more extra money in the coffers to go after some more players. I spent a little while looking around and searching for players, and I brought a few more on trial. And you know, I'm trying to dig a few little bargains out, because my main thought is trying to bring in players that, because I don't really want loads of old players, because you can't really sell them on, and I generally want more money. But there's not, you know, we're kind of in that stage where we need kind of a squad that can compete next year, and we can't rely on just pure regens alone. So we're obviously got to intersperse it with some nice players, but 24-year-old player here, so it's a good player that we can still make a profit on hopefully down the line. 4-star potential, 3-star current ability, getting released from Sevilla, who have just been basically loaning him out, not really used him. He's been at Sevilla B team last season. But he looks a quality player in my eyes. He's got some decent stats about him. Can play in various roles in the midfield, which will definitely help us because we've obviously got different roles to fill. And yeah, all in all, not a bad little player. He wanted a lot more than this, so I've managed to get him down to 4.7k by saying basically he's got a minimum fee release of 4.5 million, a selling fee of about 20%, and a 2.5 million fee release if we don't get promotion. So there's a few clauses in there, but at the end of the day, it's only cost us 64k, and you will notice our wage budget or transfer budget's gone up because we've sold a few players, which I'll show you in a second. But the next guy we've got here is another scout coming in, so we'll get that one in, and we've got lots of offers coming in for various regions that we're sort of, every time I get a little, you know, someone's made a bid, I am interested and sort of looking. And this guy looks pretty decent again. What's the bid at for him? What's gone there? 245k plus, so it'd be quite a bit of money to get him, but he's no one that looks decent. Obviously, I've been trying to get Brad Smith, but he's on loads of money and he's not interested in joining us, to be honest. I don't think we're going to get him. In terms of the outs so far then, if we have a quick look at transfer history outs, just in case it shows you, but basically a couple of them on there at the minute is Marco Fredriani. He has just agreed to leave for £375,000. The board actually sort of just agreed to sell him on that one, so I think it must be a case of like he definitely wasn't that good or something, because all the others it's let me accept, even though they've been for more money. We've also let Gian Felucci go. If you look at the transfer centre and show like outs or something, so Felucci is going for about 400k, and Adamu has just agreed to leave for about £1.1 million. So we've got a nice little bit of extra money in the kitty. We do have 50 grand available wage budgets, which I can put some of that onto transfers if we need, but I'm just trying to keep it balanced out as much as possible at the minute. but we've got a few signings made, so we're steadily making progress. We have also managed to tie down Lazzarini to a new contract, so he is going to stay with us. 2.9k. He was on, I think, about 3 something, I think. So we've managed to bring that down a little bit. Just put him as a backup player, but he might still end up being the first choice keeper with that young Regen as his number 2. And I'm still waiting to hear back from Lolo. He's another one that's kind of on the waiting list for a new contract. So a few bits happening, but let's keep going and see what else we can do. So another player joining the club is Ilias Benali. He's a German. I think he's German. Yeah, he's definitely German. And he is at 1860 München. And he was wanted by a few different clubs. A couple made bids for him from in Germany, and a couple of decent sort of named clubs as well. So that kind of got me interested. I had a look at him because he was on basically our scouting shortlist to go after. And I decided, yeah, I'll kind of match their bid. It wasn't anything too spectacular. And I just kind of taken a bit of a punt on him because we don't have the scout report yet. And obviously it's kind of cancelled it because we are making the deal. But yeah, I feel like this guy could be pretty decent. 86k, only £700 a week. I'm more going through kind of what I can see and the fact he was wanted by a few decent teams that are making bids. So that's kind of my punt on that one. But again, we'll see how that one works out. Well, the fixtures have been released, so we can go have a little look at, though, where they predict us to finish, because I'm really interested to see what this could be. And we're actually saying 6th in the league, which kind of goes roughly with what I was thinking. And interestingly enough, Marco Silvestri, the ex-Leeds goalkeeper that we got under the... he has requested to leave. Oh, too much of that. I would love to bring him in, actually. He'd be a really solid goalkeeper for us, to be honest. Obviously got relegated from Serie A. But yeah, brought him in back in the Cellino days of Leeds United. But 6th in the league, that's kind of what I was saying in the last few episodes, that we might actually have a decent enough team that can challenge here. So this could be an interesting season for us, to be honest. If we can just get like top 6, like top 8, I think would do me, to be honest. We have got the season expectations. Let's see what the actual club want from us. We're also getting 859k for that. So they want to attempt to avoid relegation. Great. 4th qualifying round. Brilliant. Can't even sort of change that anyway. So that's fine. Okay. No worries. I'm happy with that. But if we can get like top half and then maybe next year go for the promotion where we've maybe let a few of these youth regens bed in the team a little bit more, that could be pretty interesting. You can see the registration rules there. All looking pretty standard, kind of the league below. So we should be alright, to be honest. But yeah, a couple of little extra signs have been made, but nothing too much. So I won't go into them just yet. But yeah, nothing major has happened other than that. And I wanted to have a little quick look, see where the predictors to finish. Because, like I said to you, I just feel like we might have enough to do a decent season here, guys. I think it might not be too bad. Well, we're here at the 1st of July, where obviously a lot of contracts end and things happen, and we have got 7 signings in. So a few of these you're already going to have seen already. Designees Bunich, he is in a club, 1.4 million is worth, which I'm very happy with indeed. Harvard Carlson, we signed him a little while ago. He was a centre-back. He's not as good as the scouts originally sort of said with this guy. He's 4-star potential, but again, he didn't cost us loads, so he's a young player that we'll loan out and just see if we can make a profit on this guy. We didn't pay a ton for him. Libor Jika, he's a player I don't think I showed you, but I just signed. Again, quite a cheap player. He was wanted by a few clubs, and again, it was one of those where they made an offer, and I think like Slovan something made an offer, like Bratislava maybe, I'm not sure, and it wasn't a lot, so I thought I'd go in for him, and he looks pretty decent, to be honest. Nice little wing back. If we can train up some of his attacking attributes, he could be a brilliant wing back attack. 16 years old. I love the Czechs. Czech regens are just awesome. Nikola Katich, we've obviously seen this guy already. 4.5 star, not 5-star potential, so gone down a little bit since the trial, but I still, again, think we haven't paid that much. He'll be a decent young player that we might try and loan out, maybe get a proper deputy this season so they can develop. Martin Magdic, another one that, again, seems to have declined a little bit since signing, but we, again, didn't pay tons for this guy, and hopefully he can do a decent job for us and then maybe sell him on for a decent profit. We then got Phillippi Caraballo, who is the 3.5-star current ability and potential player for the centre midfield, 1.4 million. So again, I think a nice little tidy deal there, where down the line we can maybe do a bit of wheeler dealing and get some profit on him. Now this guy is the one I took a punt on. 4-star. I don't think that's too bad. Again, didn't pay a lot of money for this guy. So we've brought in a few decent regens. Some have got some good potential. Others, it's come down a little bit. But I think all in all, we've not paid a lot of money for them. So we can probably make a decent little profit on them down the line as well, which is good. So I think other things to quickly show you. I don't know what has happened right now. Let's have a little look. Fiordolino. People are eyeing him up. I don't want to lose him. He's a quite a good player. We have given some new contracts recently. Oh, actually, I got offers in for him, in fact. Well, there's no way he's leaving. He's got no interest in joining, so that is good. I think they're in our division anyway. They are. So I think that's what will kind of put him off from joining them, because they're in our division. So that's kind of all right. I have been looking at a centre-back and centre midfield players that have been transfer listed. He's one I've been looking at. And basically just trying to find a few options, really. We've got a few other players, a few little irons in the fire. But if we now have a little look at this, I think Lazzarini with his new contract is going to be probably our number one goalkeeper. I think we've got, if we have a look, who have we signed in recently then? So, Paulista, I'm offering a contract to him, which hopefully he'll accept. Now, Bunich, I think is more going to be the Mazzala role, potentially. Let's have a look. Bunich is there. Efkan Fiordolino. Okay. Got this. So, backup-wise, Lolo's not great backup, but we might have a few other options there. Not really done all in the centre-back area just yet. Had a few players on trial, but yeah, kind of not too sure about that just yet. And striking-wise, again, not a lot happening there just yet either. But we're making progress. We've got a few players in. I think midfield looking a lot better now with a few acquisitions, a couple of youth players. So it's getting there, guys. It's definitely getting there. It's a work in progress with the financial aspects of this club. Not having tons of money, that is definitely the challenge of this save in terms of trying to get those signings done. The only really annoying thing about not being able to sign non-EU players at the minute in Serie B is that when you find like a little gem like this come up and you're just like, I really wish we could sign him because he's on a free as well, which just makes it even more annoying. I kind of put this guy in our transfers because when I went through all the international teams, I had a quick look at Brazil as well, and there was this guy in. So I put him on, see if he was still available when we get up to Serie A, and we might have a look at him. But he's available now, but annoyingly, can't sign him. Oh, just so gutting, so gutting. I wish we could sign him, but then have to loan him out again. Like that, I'd be open to that. Like if we had to sign and immediately loan them out, we couldn't play them in our squad. Why isn't that an option? But never mind. So gutting, but we move on. Well, you maybe didn't expect this one to come, but I've decided to sell Mala for £1 million. We're going to get about 200 grand of that in our budget. I'm going to make the deal now, purely because I think I mentioned it a little bit that I just didn't feel like he was absolutely amazing. I feel like he was down to be better, but just not anymore. I mean, Morocco, a bit of a nice little random nationality. But yeah, we've moved him on. He has gone to a decent side in Göztepe. I've at least heard them anyway, the Turkish Super League team. But the reason why is because of a player that we'd already signed before. If we have a look at him here, he's a regen we signed last season for £30,000. We loaned him out and he had a reasonable time with 6 assists, 2 goals in 17 games for this Latvian team. The team we actually bought him off, we loaned him back there actually as part of the deal. But this guy has got 3.5 star or 4.5 potential stars, 2.5 star current ability. He looks pretty decent. And when I compared them like for like, they were very much like he'd be better in some aspects, and then Mala would be slightly better in a couple. They were very, very even, and I thought we can get £1 million in, and this guy can be a decent enough deputy. He's not going to be like first choice deputy or anything, but you can already see he's kind of up there. So I was more than happy to make that swap and bring that cash in. And the thing is, I'm just trying to make enough funds for this club that we can sort of have a nice little kitty of cash to go after some regens throughout the year and not be completely sort of bare bones sort of thing. So we sold a few players. We're kind of getting to the end of the transfer sort of dealings. There's a couple last players I want to bring in, and once they're done, I'll show you kind of how the squad's looking as we get towards our friendlies. Well, guys, it's taken about 3.5 hours to get to this point. We've been doing loads of little, trying to find players, trial players, and just all sorts of stuff going on. But this is the lineup we're going to have for our first game, which you're going to kind of see, I'm not going to show the actual goal highlights for this one, I'm just going to show you the start and finish, because this is a cup game, and I'm not too bothered about the cup right now. My main focus is just, well, survival, but mostly to just try and get, ideally, a mid-table finish and sort of comfortable in the league. There is not super optimistic as I was before, as we've had a few little knocks. Now, in terms of the friendlies, we lost against Padova, which is actually our first game in Serie B properly, even though this is a Serie B team we're playing today, 1-0. So we'll have to see. I mean, in terms of the result, we had tons of chances and they only had one shot on target and scored it. So maybe it was just one of those everyone's still gelling together kind of games. We fought over a few good victories against sort of better teams, and obviously 1860 Munchen, not the greatest result given that they are a third tier German team, but they are still a really decent side, to be honest. Third tier German teams are actually pretty decent, so we'll see how it gets on. I think this is kind of a deciding factor for how our season could be, to be honest. The other thing is, Lucas May just got injured. He's going to be out for around 3 to 5 weeks. He's going to miss the start of the season. He's a huge player to us. But I've done a few little bits and bobs in the transfer market since we last discussed. So we'll run through the team that's going to make our lineup today. Lazzarini, you all know him. Fiordaliso, you all know him. And DeLorco, you all know him. I'm not going to go on too much about these. They have all got new deals, except Fiordaliso because it's on loan, obviously. But DeLorco had a lot of interest, gave him a new deal, and he accepted that. But he's a Serie A quality player, which is really awesome. But he accepted a new deal, 5k a week. It basically demanded it, so we had to give it to him, but that keeps him tied down. Fiordalino's on a new deal as well, 4.1 thousand a week, but again, Serie A decent player, so gives me kind of hope that we've got some decent players in there. Now in the back line, it would have been Lucas May and Glick, who is a replacement for Modolo. I sold him for 500k, he was on about 4.2 grand a week. We've had to pay £500 a week of his wages to the end of his contract, which was this season anyway. But we replaced him with this guy on free, Kamil Glick, Polish centre-back. He's 33 years old, 2-year deal, but he's 4-star, so he's an improvement, and for technically cheaper wages, if not about the same, with the fact we're paying some of the other wages. So a really decent deal there, to be honest. He will be our captain with 16 leadership as well, replacing Modolo, but he's just a really solid player, and I think he hopefully will just be a nice little upgrade to help us out in this division. And again, in terms of him, he's a Serie A decent player. So again, we've got a nice little build of players there. Doucouré is a young player brought in. I actually just watched him in real life in the German Borussia Mönchengladbach. I watching the highlights, and he's had like a massive layoff with injuries and stuff, and just like finally played like his first game or something. And I was like, oh, hang on, I think I'm scouting him in FM20. But then here he is. So he signed on he's just kind of a bit of a younger, decent kind of player to have around the club sort of thing. Struggling to find a lot of options. We have got a really awesome young centre-back I've signed, a regen, but part of the deal was that he'd loaned back, and they actually asked for it rather than me putting it in this time. But he, hopefully, when we cancel that in January, will slot in and be beautiful for us. Fiordalino, we obviously know about him. Like I said, I've given him a new deal there. Caraballo, Phillippi Caraballo. He was at Sevilla. I think I showed you him before, but he's a really decent sort of centre midfield player, 24 years old. So again, decent sort of potential, decent sort of ability, but the potential to sell him as well down the line if we need. Bunich is going to be an advanced playmaker, 23 years old, come from Borussia Dortmund on the free. Again, a decent sort of value there, decent sort of player. He is a Serie B quality player, which is good. We've obviously got our FCAN guy. I was kind of worried we're going to lose FCAN because he had an £800,000 release fee from his original contract to get him, and there was some teams sniffing around, but luckily didn't make offers, and he wouldn't, at the end of the season, he wouldn't discuss a new deal, and I was like, oh my god, no. But luckily, when it kind of ticked into, I think like late June or something, he was fine and would discuss a deal. The same with DeLorco, actually, he wouldn't discuss a deal at first, but they both decided, yep, here's my sort of deal. And I'm kind of looking at this club badge. It's like so weird. That's such a random badge. But yeah, he discussed a deal, 4.2k. But again, he's a really good player, Serie A quality. So I think we've got a really good backbone to the squad here. Candelone, who almost kind of saw the exit, to be honest. But he is a decent sort of Serie B striker. He kind of finished the last season in good form. And Longo, again, you know about those two guys. I was tempted to maybe sell one of them, try and find someone else, but they were just no real options without getting a lot of older players, which I didn't really want to do. We almost got Federico Fazio, who got released from like Inter or something. But again, I didn't want to get like too many old players. Went for Glick just because he's a little bit more solid than Fazio was, a little bit better pace. In terms of the bench, then we've got Katich, who's our young region goalkeeper. I already showed you him. Libor. I'm going to need a nickname for this guy. He's kind of our left back cover youth development prospect, and we'll see how he gets on. I don't think he's going to be like the world beater of world beaters, but he's decent for now, and hopefully he can develop in this sort of year, and we might be able to then sell him on for a profit and replace him with an even better regen down the line. Valetti is just a player I got on loan for that right hand side, just struggling to find cover. It only cost us 1.2k. The rest of them wanted like ridiculous money. See what like the best of the bunch I could get. Di Marino is still there as a kind of a backup fourth choice centre back, but he's kind of our next in line because of that injury now. Lolo there's kind of a bit of cover for the midfield, along with our sort of young regen playmaker that hopefully can do some decent enough stuff. And again, I think he's going to be one of those that if we can develop in this season, get into like a 3-star quality player, maybe worth like £1 million, flog him on and replace him with an even better player. I think that's kind of the idea with some of these youngsters we've got at the minute. So not the ones we've got right now, I don't think are going to be absolute world beaters. Maybe apart from that centre back I've got, but if we can develop them and sell them on, and that funds more, then that's kind of the youth conveyor belt system that I'm going for. Vaca, we know about him. He's here for sort of another season, just as cover. Moncello is still obviously up there to cover, and as our young sort of 4-star potential striker. I think is good enough to be around the club as a 4th choice striker, to be honest. So he's in there as well as Magdic. And all I want to keep calling him is Magic. Magic. He's magic. So I think he's going to have to be called Magic. So he's just Magic, leading the line for us. And that's kind of the squad as things stand. So in terms of the player I want to quickly show you who is out on loan, it is this guy, Premysl Dietrich. He's one of those, again, that when I was looking through myself, through the Croatia mostly, and Czech Republic youth teams, he stood out to me by the fact that he had 17 heading, 16 tackling, great balance, great bravery, decent marking for 16 years old. So we snapped this guy up. Now, like I say, he's already kind of down as like our 5th best centre-back in the squad, and hopefully in January when we can recall him, and he is playing in the Czech 2nd Division, so hopefully he will develop a little bit while he's on loan, but we can call him up and get him in the squad, and like if we're safe, like mid-table, I just want to throw this guy in and try and develop him, because this guy, I do actually feel like he has potential to become a really, really awesome player. You know, some of these stats just make me think, this guy could be good. And we paid in total for this guy 250k up front, but there is potential clauses to make it 725, so it obviously could go up on that one. Limbombe and Virag, 2 wingers, have been loaned out. Again, they've got potential. You can see they've slightly come down, but again, just try and develop them and flog them. So that's kind of you all caught up on things. I'm now going to play this game, and I'll let you know how we get on in just a tick. Well, I forgot to do it whilst it was on the actual thing. I clicked off it, but it went to penalties. It was an interesting game. They dominated possession, especially early doors. They were getting like 65% possession, but we had quite a lot of chances. We had the most, to be honest, and we had probably about 3 clear one-on-one opportunities where Candelloni missed. I was so good. I think if we had a higher quality striker than Candelloni there, we probably would have won this game, maybe 2-3-1. They scored a decent goal, but nothing spectacular. I mean, ours wasn't amazing. It was kind of like a knock-on from a throw-in, but went to penalties and just couldn't do the business. So we're out of the cup, and it just worries me a little bit of how we're going to do this season. But I mean, to be honest, we are kind of we're not expected to win every game, so I think it's not a bad thing. It just gives us an opportunity to hopefully, as long as we stay in the division, that's all I'm bothered about, and hopefully then build for next season to then make a charge up. But that's the first game. Not the ideal result, but now we move on to the first Serie B game proper. And let's hope we can make a bit of a better impact in that game. Radio then, this is the last bit of the episode, and it is our first game in Serie B against Padova. Obviously the team that we lost early in the friendlies, like I mentioned. One final change has been made, or one final acquisition. That's Moise Keane on loan. It's costing us $5,000 a week, but that pace to burn it just makes me feel like he might be a little bit of a special acquisition for us in terms of just unlocking a defence that might be a bit more sluggish, let's say. But he's not going to come in straight today because, as always, injured. like everybody else. But otherwise, the squad is pretty much unchanged then, with Fiordaliso, Gilk, Decore, DeLoco, Lazzarini, Fiordalino, Fcan. We had like so many little knocks and injuries in the run-up to this. Lazzarini, Fcan, also Longo. So luckily the squad's going to come back, but it's going to be a tough game. I just really want to see us get a victory and just know that we're not going to have an absolute dreadful season, because I'm kind of just a little bit on edge, because I don't know exactly how we're going to compare and how we're going to do and how this tactical fare and all these various bits. But hopefully we can go out there and have a good victory. So let's find out. Come on, boys. Fiordaliso with our opening goal of the Serie B campaign. Not the most spectacular ever going to see in the world. I'll put it out there. But it was a decent kind of build-up play. DeLoco tries to get it in. Fcan then picks it up, knocks it back to him. His ball across, finds Fiordaliso, and his header hits his own man, hits Longo, and rebounds to make a perfect little position to just slot it over in that bottom corner. Either way, though, it's 1-0. We've had some decent shots, decent attempts, and 1-0 at half-time. You can see it again there, dominating the possession, but we are definitely having the more chances. So it's definitely a tactic not for the possession. That might be something we look at in the future, try and tweak or see how we can improve that. Definitely give me your thoughts down below. But it creates chances. You just need the players to finish them. So let's get in that second half and see if we can maybe wrap this tie up. Well, Candelone's not been on his best so far, but that definitely was his best. Candelone had just made it 2-0 here with a beautiful effort. I was just basically begging him to pass this, because again, like the last game, he's had a couple of chances it is squandered, but he just takes his man on and just blasts it into the back of the net. 2-0 up. Come on, boys. He's come alive as Candelone. He has come alive. Designees Bunich with the assist here. Nice little dinked ball through to him. And just calm as you like, he just puts it straight past the keeper. Look at this. Fcan and Bunich playing it around the midfield. He lops it into him, and just look at that. Really, really confident finish for him. Makes it 3-0. This is more like it, Candelone. And Decore makes it 4 from the corner. They're pretty much going all for it. They've got 3 strikers up top at the minute, and I think we're just making them pay for it right now. I mean, even though this was a set piece, but I think we're just making them pay for going gung-ho, which they kind of have to, obviously. But Decore with his goal makes it 4. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. And that's our first game done. Come on, boys. Maybe I didn't have to panic buy, or should I say panic loan, Moise Kean. I think he's a really good acquisition nonetheless, though, to be honest. And I don't know, it might be Longo that might actually be the one to move out. If Candelone's looked pretty decent there, Longo still looking a little bit missing. I mean, he kind of did a little bit last year as well, so it might actually be him that I move on, because he's worth £1 million. But we'll see. I've got a little bit of time before the window ends, so we'll see kind of what's what. At the very least, we'll keep hold of Moise Kean as some rotation option, and if we don't end up needing him, we don't sell any players, we can always cancel his loan in January again. So it's not a bad thing having extra players around. But look at that, 30 shots, 15 on target. Yes, we don't have the possession, we've talked about that, but that's maybe something to work on in the future, as maybe we get a better squad for this division, and then maybe as we get a better squad when we're up in Serie A. But for now, I think it's very much just a case of score when we've got the ball, try and defend well when we don't. So yeah, first win, loving it. I'll see you back in the next one, guys, for some more Serie B action. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you soon.